I'm sorry you weren't in class to join us for the live lesson, but this video will help you to learn about what we discussed in class. There are lots of things that try to steal your attention away, and so today we'll be learning how to outsmart those attention thieves. Many of the things that try to steal our attention are technology distractions, so we're going to learn how to protect our attention when we're surrounded by all that technology. We have 3 goals. We'll understand the limits that our brains have to what we can pay attention to. We'll identify the things that could be affecting our focus, especially those technology distractions. And we'll practice 3 simple strategies to manage those distractions. We're going to start with a little game to test how good your memory is. You will need your handout for this game. If you were unable to print the handout at bit.ly/attentionthieves, you can grab a sheet of paper and you can write your answers on that. The handout has 2 tests at the top of it for our memory test. If you don't have the handout, draw 2 grids with the 9 squares as shown. In this memory game, you're going to have a few seconds to look at some emojis drawn on the grid. Then you will have a minute to draw those from memory. Don't worry about adding a lot of detail. Keep the drawing simple just so that we know what each emoji is. Are you ready for test 1? Here we go. Study the grid carefully. Memorize which emoji is in which square. When you draw, you're just going to do simple drawings. They don't have to be as fancy as this. All right, let's test your memory. You have 1 minute to draw. Pause now and write your responses on the grid on your handout. Welcome back. We're now ready for test number 2. Study these emojis. Memorize what they are and where they are. And let's test your memory. Draw them on grid number 2. You can pause now and give yourself a minute to draw the emojis you remember. Let's see how you did. How many did you get right on test 1? How about test 2? You have an amazing brain that helps you learn, solve problems, and create. But your brain has its limits. So it's hard to remember too many emojis at once. And your brain can also struggle to stay focused when there are lots of distractions around you. That's why you probably did better on test 1 than you did on test 2, because test 2 just had too many things to remember. There were distractors. Even listening to my voice go over instructions might have been a distraction. What are some of the things that sometimes distract you when you're trying to focus on schoolwork or listening to someone? Think about it. I often get distracted by unusual noises going on, like if a kid's talking when I teach or when I'm trying to focus on reading something, it makes it hard for me to think. Does that ever happen to you? Distractions come in lots of different ways, and sometimes they're inside our minds, like when we're daydreaming about something. Sometimes they're in our environment, like noises going on around us. But increasingly, many of the biggest distractions that we face come from the technology around us. Our brains can only focus on about 4 things at once. That's why when you did the little memory tests, you remembered around 4 emojis. And this limit on our attention is really important for us to understand with the technology we use today, because every notification and message and app is designed to get your focus. They make money by you focusing on their apps and their notifications and watching their ads. So we have to understand how that technology affects our focus. And when we understand it, that's the first step in managing it better. The definition of attention is the ability to focus your mind on something specific while ignoring the distractions around you. Let's do another activity. Again, if you have the handout, you can mark on part 2 for this exercise. And if you don't have the handout, just think about it and maybe circle it in your mind. So we're going to find the technology distractions in the image and then circle them. Pause now to write your response on the handout. How did you do? Well, in the first picture at the dinner table, the father has a phone out, and that is distracting him from the meal and from the conversation with his family. In the picture on the right, where the boys are outside, the one is distracted by his smartwatch. And in the picture at the bottom, most kids notice the cell phone on the table that's vibrating or played music or something, but a lot of kids miss the TV in the background. That is also a technology distraction. Let's look at part 3. Flip to the back of your handout. We're going to think about the technology distractions that affect you the most, and you can complete question 3 on your handout, or part 3 on your handout. There's 2 questions there. So in question 1 of part 3, it asks you to check off the tech distractions that most affect you. It says notifications and alerts, games or fun apps, videos that play automatically, sounds from other devices, messages from friends, wanting to check something online, and then it has other. If there's something else that affects you, you could add that down to the bottom. And in question 2, it asks you to pick your top 3 distractions and rate them as most distracting to least distracting. You can pause and write your responses now. So now that we've completed part 3 and we understand what affects us, now we can look at ways to mitigate those distractions. Here are 3 simple tips for managing technology distractions. First is physical distance. It means to keep the devices out of reach when you need to focus. So if I need to do a big assignment, I'm not going to work on it in the living room where the TV is on. I'm going to go to a quiet space so I don't have that distraction. I'm going to keep my phone in the other room so I don't get distracted by alerts and dings on my phone that pull my attention away. I can also silence my notifications. Sometimes I might need to use a device that has notifications coming up on it, so I can silence them, turn off the sounds and alerts to keep myself focused on my work and my assignment. And the last tip is an attention reset. So if you do get distracted, which we all do from time to time, take a deep breath. You can stretch up tall, touch your toes, give your back a little stretch and turn. You can also look away from your screen for 30 seconds. I often talk about the 20-20-20 rule. Every 20 minutes, you take a 20-second break where you look 20 feet away, and that gives your eyes a chance to reset and focus. So you can refocus your attention that way as well by looking away for 30 seconds. And then just take a deep breath and tell yourself, okay, time to get back to work. So for part 4, I'd like you to take a look at these strategies and decide which one you think would most help you this week. We've already looked at what is distracting. Now we need to decide what could help us. So for the last part of your assignment on your handout, where it says my biggest attention thief is, I would like you to write that. Whatever thing is distracting you the most. And then for I'll protect my focus by, I want you to tell me which strategy you'll use. Physical distance, silence notifications, attention reset. Which one are you going to use to help you protect your focus? Again, if you don't have the handout, you can always write it on a separate sheet of paper. You can pause now to write your responses about how you're going to pay attention to the tech that distracts you and what strategy you'll try to help you focus. That's a wrap. So today we learned that our brains have limits. We can only focus on about 4 things at once. But now we have 3 simple strategies to protect our focus. We can use physical distance, we can silence our notifications, or we can try an attention reset. So I'd like you to keep all of those strategies in mind when you are feeling distracted by technology. Thanks for tuning in to this lesson from Common Sense Education.